Hey guys, I'm going to quickly work through these 4 problems and really just give you a sense of the terminology and the formulas and try to get you comfortable starting with this simple interest. And then we'll do the compound interest later, which is more real but more difficult. Okay, here we go. So you borrow $2,500 at simple interest, a rate of 5.25%, and you borrow it for 4 years. Okay, so simple interest, just pay it back at the end. They calculate the interest one time based on how long you hold it out, and it doesn't gain interest on the interest. That's what we mean by simple interest. So here we go. So how much interest will you owe? So first we need our principal amount. This is always how much you borrow, or if you're making the interest, if it's coming back to you, then it's how much you put in the bank. But 2,500 is our principal, and our interest rate, which is R, they're always giving us the interest rate as an annual rate. That's 5.25% per year. And then we have to do 2 things. We convert it to a decimal. So we move that decimal 2 places, 0.0525. And then if our term is in years, then great, we're done. But otherwise we have to convert it to months or weeks or whatever they give us. But here it's years. So it's 0.0525 per year. And then T is the term of the loan or the time. And here it's 4 years. Okay, this is as simple and straightforward as they come. And then we use our interest formula. So they want to know how much interest do we have to pay. So it's the principal times the rate times the time. And so it's 2,500 times 0.0525 times 4 years. Just multiply those 3 together. Simple as they can come. And you owe $525 in interest. You're obviously going to have to pay back the $2,500 that you borrowed, but you also have to pay back the interest. Okay, so the second question is how much do you pay back in total? For these kind of questions, you have a choice. You know that the total, we call that the future value. How much is that loan going to be worth at the end of the 4 years? It's equal to, this is as easy way, when we've already calculated the interest, we'll just use this simple, it's the principal, we got to pay back the 2,500 plus the interest plus the 525. So it's the principal plus the interest, and then add those together, and we owe 3,025 total. So at the end of the 4 years, that's how much we have to pay back. Just so you have seen it, because you have to use this formula in other places, so we might as well just sort of get used to using it here. This is just the same formula, but not going through this step up here. So if they didn't ask us individually, hey, how much was the interest? How much was the principal? If they just gave us this problem and said, how much am I going to owe at the end? You can sort of bypass this first step and go right to the answer. But it's the same calculation. So it's 2,500 times 1 plus 0.0525 times 4. And when you multiply or put that in parentheses, you get equals to 1.21. And so 2,500 times 1.21 is the same answer, right? Obviously, we can do it either way. We get 3,025. Okay, but just so you realize, I know most of your brains will go to this way, which makes perfect sense. That's how I would do it too. But I just want you to realize this formula is what they give you, and it works as well. Okay, second question is a little better because we're loaning the money. We're investing, so we get the interest back ourselves. These are the kind of problems that we like. This is what we're hoping to do with our money in the world. We want to have people pay us interest. All right, so first we need our principal. It's $900. That's how much we're investing. We know that the interest rate is 3%. That's always per year. So I'm changing that to 0.03. And then here is what's different about that. I'm not actually finished with that. In fact, I'll probably start doing this where I do the time first. That makes more sense. And we're going to leave our money in this CD, that's a certificate of deposit, which is what the bank calls like a good savings program, for leaving it in for 18 months. All right, so then if this time is in months, this rate has to be in months. This is the key to getting these right. So this was the rate per year, 0.03 per year. but I need to divide it by how many months are in a year so that it can be the monthly rate, because I'm leaving it in for 18 months. So the rate is 0.03 divided by 12. And I don't even really have to calculate that. I could, but it's fine just to leave it like that. But this is the monthly rate. And I want it in the monthly rate because my time is in months. Okay? And I'll just say real quick, I know some of you might think, well, can't I just leave this in years and do 18 months as a year and a half? Yes, you can. But when we start compound interest, you're going to have to do this where you change it to the monthly rate or the daily rate. So you might as well get used to it. So that's what I'm doing here. Okay. Then do they want the total amount or the interest? So it says here, how much interest will you earn? So my interest is the principal times the periodic rate times the time. So I put in $900. They're going to pay me 0.03 divided by 12 every month. That's the monthly rate times how many months? 18 months. Okay. This rate and this term need to be in the same units. This is per month. This is in months. That's going to be the key. And then just multiply those together. And it doesn't seem like that much money. It's not a ton, but it's free. I mean, I loaned him my money for a year and a half, and now I have $940.50. Okay, so that investment is slow. And this is simple interest. In real life, like we'll talk about later, the interest grows faster because it's compound interest. Okay, so that's my interest on this if I leave it in there for 18 months. All right, question 3 is like example 3 up here. Hopefully you've looked at that one. Here's the setup. So we want to have $20,000. That's my future value. I don't have $20,000, but I want to have $20,000 in 6 years. Okay, I found a bank that's paying 7% simple interest, so that's my annual interest rate. How much do I need to invest? So this is the question right here. What is the principal so that I'll have $20,000 in 6 years? Okay, so here's what I know. Let me raise this up so we can see it better. So here's what I do know. The future value, I want it to be worth $20,000. My time is 6 years. So then my rate can be in years because my time is in years. My rate is 7%. Change that from a percent to a decimal every time. This is per year. Okay, so these match. That's good. And that's all I know. So what I don't know is the principal. That's what I have to figure out. But I use my future value formula. How much will it be worth at the end? It's equal to the principal, the amount that I invest to start, times 1 plus the rate times the time. That's my formula. Okay, now plug in what I do know. I already know the future value. It's $20,000. What I don't know is the principal, times 1 plus my rate. Annual rate is 0.07 times the years, 6 years. And then I calculate inside this parentheses 1 plus 0.07 times 6, and that comes out to be 1.42. And then this is just a one-step algebra equation from here. Divide both sides by 1.42, divide by 1.42, and the principal will be equal to whatever 20,000 divided by 1.42 is. And I get 14,084.51. Round everything off, always. I should have said this. These answers came out perfectly, but these don't. Round them to the nearest penny, right? Everything's in dollars, so we always go out to the nearest penny, nearest cent. So if I put this much money in and don't touch it, I don't add to it, I don't take anything away from it, I just leave it in the bank for 6 years, I'll have $20,000 at the end. Okay. And again, this is nice. What's sort of fake about this problem is that it's simple interest. You'll actually get way more interest in real life. Compound interest, it grows and grows. But you won't find a 7% interest. That's way too high in real life. So they sort of cancel each other out. So that actually might be a kind of realistic answer. Here we go. Last question. All right. You borrow $600 from your friend. So that's how much we borrowed initially. That's my principal amount. And your friend charges an annual rate of 2% simple interest. Okay, so my rate is 0.02 for the year, but then let's see what our time is. So we pay her back after 75 days. Okay, so let's put our time next. It's 75 days. And then what is our rate? So our rate is 0.02 per year, but I want it to be per day. So how many days in a year? 3 divided by 365. And that's the rate per day. Okay, so we've changed that annual rate to a daily rate, and as long as these match, we're great. And then we just plug in, does it want the total or the interest? It says how much interest. So we just calculate the interest, which is equal to the principal times the rate times the time, 600 times we'll just write this as it comes, 0.02 over 365 times the time times 75, and just multiply those three numbers right across. And because our interest rate is so low and we didn't leave it for very long, we paid it back after like a month and a half. The interest we would owe our friend is only $2.47. So obviously we would have to pay back the 600 plus a little bit of interest. Okay, hope that helps, and we'll do some harder compound interest problems next.